for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. We have a great program planned for you tonight where we're going to talk about restorative justice through the United Methodist Church and volunteers. We've had these fantastic people in the studio before, and this is like a follow-up to the programs that we're all involved in and working in, and we'd love for you to call us and give us your feedback and even volunteer for one of these programs. Another way we can make our community a better place to live in. It's all working with the criminal justice system. And without any further ado, I'll just introduce our guest tonight. Let me start with Dr. Pastor Chism, who is one of the pastors at St. John's United Methodist Church on West Gray. He is my pastor. And also tell us a little bit about what you do at the church, dealing with the prison ministry.
Well, I lead the Path to Freedom. We offer a holistic prison ministry. The objective, the goal is to share God's love with men and women who are incarcerated. We have a letter writing campaign where we write about 150 persons each month. And we also visit jails and prisons as a ministry team. And our biggest effort and most central effort is our ministry for returning citizens. It's called the Lazarus Project. Lazarus was a biblical figure who died and who was dead for 3-4 days, and he was counted out. And we believe that a lot of ex-offenders are in a similar predicament. They're counted out by their families, by society, but we believe through the power of love that they can be restored. And so we have a meeting every Monday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. to speak life, to give hope and inspiration to men and women coming out of prison.
Excellent introduction, thank you. And we also have Miss Betty Waedeman, who I might be mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry.
That's close enough.
Okay, and tell us about your prison ministry.
I'm a member of Christ United Methodist Church in Sugar Land, and because of our close proximity to the prisons, there's many prisons in the Sugar Land, Richmond area, our church is involved with going into the prisons and conducting many different programs within the prisons at the Carroll Vance Prison and the Jester 3 Prison, and several other prisons in the Houston area, the Darrington program, we're trying to get involved there. And we take in love. We take into the prisoners programs, but more importantly, we go in and love them unconditionally and show them the love of God. And it makes a huge difference in their lives. And one thing my church is doing right now, we have about 50 volunteers that go in on a routine basis, is we're trying to show other churches how to get involved, because there's so many ways you can get involved, from the children in your church making cards for prisoners, and placemats, to baking cookies, to going in once a week, to having Kairos weekends. There's so many ways that you can get involved, and we're trying to show other churches what it can do and how it can energize their church to be involved in this wonderful ministry.
Fabulous. And Danny Sneed, tell us about your involvement with the Path to Freedom.
Well, I came to the Path to Freedom because I wanted to share my ideas and motivations to change after spending 15 years in prison. And I wanted to share those ideas with my peer group, and as guys getting out of prison or had the prison experience. And I believe that God can turn those wounds into wisdom if you use them. So how I perceive my problem changed my attitude. And once I understood what my problem was and was willing to put a lot of work into doing something about it, I started seeing changes in my life. And like people, You know, when I wanted to change my life, I changed the people in my life. And they had more effect on me than my motivation to change. Just being around positive people, and I like to describe it like this: if you want to be successful, just hang around successful people. And when you walk in a room with them, nobody knows your story. They see you with successful people like Dr. Chism. You know, when I'm hanging around him, hey, you know, they may think I may have a bachelor's degree or something, you know, hanging around him, or that I'm an alumni. And
Right.
sometimes when we're together, and if I walk like him and I posture myself like him, and I don't say much, they don't know anything about my past.
Right. So you feel accepted.
That's right. You know, so it's all about just hanging around positive people. And also you know, Vivian King, you know, being associated with you, you know, it's hanging around greatness, hanging around success. And I share those ideas with people that have had the privilege and experience, like myself,
Do you think it helps them?
if they're open to it. But what helps more than anything is the face of success. And that's what we need more of. So what gets me involved in prison ministry is the more people that have been had the prison experience that tell their story and share their experience, it allows both sides, people that hadn't had it and had it, to see that people can change.
Thank you for that. Well, Dr. Chisholm, let's get back to you. We talked a little bit off air about your work with Ban the Box, and tell the audience what Ban the Box is.
Well, Ban the Box is a movement that has started in different cities throughout the United States as it relates to employment discrimination and housing, as well as, discrimination in employment as well as in housing for ex-offenders. When ex-offenders fill out an application for a job, oftentimes they have to check a box that indicates, well, I'm an ex-offender, and immediately that application is tossed to the side and they're not given consideration for the job. Likewise with housing, they have to check a box that I'm an ex-offender, and they're unable or not allowed to receive the housing opportunities that they need. So a lot of ex-offenders are jobless as well as homeless because of discrimination. So the Ban the Box movement is an effort to require that box is banned from applications. And in certain cases, I mean, we understand limitations such as sex offender and how that information is important. But the movement is to ban that box, to give a fair chance for employment, for housing, and we're trying to get it off the ground here in Houston.
Well, I haven't learned much about it yet, but I have heard that Councilman Davis in District B is working on that with the City of Houston. And the City of Houston is our largest employer, and so that will be helpful. The City of Houston hires ex-cons or ex-offenders, so it would be okay for them to do it anyway, to ban that box. And I wanted to play some little mind games on what that means in a real job application. As I was telling the panel, I haven't applied for a job in forever, and so I don't really know how that's done. I know that a lot of my clients will tell me that they apply for jobs, you know, they put down, you know, their ex-con or whatever their record is, and they might get considered for the job, and there's a second interview. And some of them have even been hired, but once the background check comes in, they get fired. So in my mind, I'm trying to think of how can the Ban the Box really help when they're going to do a background check anyway. So say I apply for a job, I put nothing down, but I've been to prison for cocaine 2 years ago. I put nothing down, but then when my background check comes in, it's going to show that I've been to prison for 2 years. To me, isn't the employer still going to discriminate?
Yeah, and part of the objective, and it's a case-by-case basis, part of the objective with the Ban the Box movement is to at least give employers an opportunity to see the complete picture of ex-offenders, a complete application, to really do a thorough screening. The the checkbox of I'm an ex-offender, as I indicated, oftentimes causes the employer to toss the application without even giving that person an opportunity to be interviewed. And certainly some persons are interviewed, and as you suggested and indicated, rightly so, they're still not given the opportunity. So it's not a panacea or a cure-all in terms of employment. Case, truth be told, persons without felony records are interviewed, and I've gone through several interviews
And I got the
for academic positions and not received the job for whatever reason.
Right.
And so you still have to have the presentation skills and the interview skills to get the job, but at least if you can get in the door and get a chance to have that interview and to present yourself before a potential employer, then perhaps you can get the job. It doesn't guarantee that, A, you get the job, but it gives you that opportunity to sell yourself and present yourself. And for me, I mean, that's a start.
I agree. The having the opportunity to have a face-to-face interview is important, because that will give someone an opportunity to say, look, I just got out of prison, but I really want to work. Give me a chance. You can at least plead your case. One other way it will help is because one of the things people get in trouble a lot with, especially with housing, but with employers, is that, say for example, we have deferred adjudication. Some girls today we met were on deferred adjudication. That is told, lawyers say that's not a conviction. So when you have an application and it says, have you ever been convicted of a felony, they're being taught by us lawyers to say no, okay, because it's not a conviction. But then when they get the background check and they see felony possession of controlled substance or felony ag assault with a deadly weapon, the person reading the background check doesn't know that that's a deferred adjudication, which is a legal fiction, which means you plead guilty to something, but the judge withholds finding you guilty so that you're not guilty of the crime as long as you continue and complete your probation, you know, 5 years or 10 years. It is not a conviction. So that's what the deferred means. It's deferring the adjudication of your guilt. Okay,
But
so
it's still on your record.
And see, that's the two different things. There's a record of every time you go to court. If a case is dismissed, it's on your record.
Yeah.
And if the person doesn't understand what the abbreviation is for it, they might think that you were convicted of it, but it's still on your record. The fact that I go to court today, say like Danny walks out of here today and a black man robs a store around the corner and they arrest him. Well, as soon as they put him in the car, he's been to prison 3 times.
It has happened to me, though. That's real.
And so he's gonna go to jail. Okay, he's going to jail even if the person was 25 and he's 40. They're gonna take him to jail because they're gonna run him when he gives them his real name, and they're gonna run him. Well, he could go to jail, go to court, be booked, hire me, and and we prove that he didn't do it, because he didn't do it. He was in here. He has an alibi. He had been in here with us.
Right.
Okay, and the robbery happened between 6:30 and 7:30, but it's in this neighborhood. That will be on his record. And so that an employer will use that against him when that case was dismissed.
Okay.
It's going to look just like a case that wasn't dismissed, because the terminology created for the criminal justice system is not being translated into regular people and personnel agencies. I mean, you know, personnel departments, so they don't know what these abbreviations mean. All they see is aggravated robbery, the dates that you went to court. And it might take 6 months to get his case dismissed. So it's going to show that he went to court for 6 months, and it doesn't even show the disposition.
Right.
Wow.
See, it doesn't show.
It's another area we need to be involved in.
It's another area we need to be involved
Boy,
in.
there's so
and
many.
that's why I'm concerned about just banning the box.
Well, let me mention this. One of the things that's happened in other cities like Boston and San Francisco is, along with this ban the box effort, there's what's called the EEOC criteria, equal employment opportunities. So part of what civil rights, it's not legal or against the law to discriminate against a person on account of their race, sex, gender, handicap, age.
There's so many now, yeah.
And you have to
throw in
yeah,
age.
you have to know all of the details.
Right.
If you don't hire a person, you have to be able to make a case. You can't do it simply because they're African American.
Right.
That's against the law.
Right.
And so also, I mean, we're looking at being an ex-offender. as being a similar status. You can't deny a person employment simply because they're an ex-offender without being able to provide particular details. Now, if you are a banker and you're looking to hire somebody and you say, well, this person has a history of robbing banks.
Right, right.
And
Okay.
certainly you can't.
A theft period.
You have a reasonable case of why you refuse a job to
Right.
this person.
Right.
But if this person committed a crime that has nothing to do with him being able or her being able to perform their job duties,
I like that.
you can't discriminate against them on that ground. Just as you couldn't because the person is black or handicapped or disabled. If they can do the job, they should be given the opportunity.
But one of the things I want to ask you, and I do this in all of the areas that I volunteer in, because I'm always trying to help the underprivileged in that, especially people in the criminal justice system who want to change and need to change, is when you make these decisions or you get into these policy meetings, always have someone like me or as experienced as me in the criminal justice system to help share ideas. Because one of the things I've seen in my 20-something years of being a lawyer is, especially when I've volunteered with NAACP, which I'm on the executive board, but I never go to the meetings, because I want to do something. I don't like just meeting. I want to do something, okay?
Okay.
And they're talking.
No action.
Let's do something. Or if you're going to act, take a radical stance on something. Don't just go along and get along and have the same opinion as everybody else, okay? So, but I do a lot of volunteering, and a lot of the decisions get made by people who don't know the whole picture.
Right.
And, you know, they might use my ideas for a little while, and then they'll go meet with the higher up somewhere without me, and they can't really negotiate the whole waters because they haven't had boots on the ground. I'm a boots on the ground girl. So I know I'm in touch with what's going on. I wouldn't want to have gone. We went to the Bambi Project today, which we'll explain. And we got to speak to about 20 girls and their babies that are in prison. I would not have gone. It wouldn't have been a good experience with me if I hadn't been able to do that roundtable. I mean, that I care about people.
Sure.
And I want to pray for them and love them and understand what their needs are.
It's a great experience.
And share what I've learned that make them fall back into that. And I think you could see that. See that today.
Definitely. Yeah.
Can I?
Let's take one phone call, and
Okay.
then Danny, you can make your comment.
All right.
Thank you for calling. You're on. Turn your volume down and talk directly into your telephone, please. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, how are you? Hello?
Fine, you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. What I wanted to speak about was the marching up there and about shooting the boy up there. What I'm trying to say, maybe you can get it out, is until you change the law, well, police have to see a weapon or something. All this about I thought and this here. Why the police have to have the edge? I feel like the citizens should have the edge.
I understand.
As long as you can
I
say,
understand
well,
your
I
frustration.
thought,
I definitely understand your frustration. I understand your frustration. I don't know what the solution to that is. I think that when officers do a bad job, just like in any other job, they just need to be fired. That one bad apple, we know will spoil the whole bunch. You had one bad apple and you leave it in the bag for 2 or 3 days, the whole apple's going to be dirty. And the temptation with us not taking a swift stance when officers are wrong and firing them is that it corrupts the whole police force because everybody in that unit has to lie for that person when they might not normally be liars. But they get put in that position that they're going to be blackballed if they don't do it. So we have got to learn to realize that although we love our police officers, if they're a bad one, they got to go. Find another job. I mean, just like everybody else.
I don't have a problem with the police either, but what I'm saying is that all that talk ain't nothing. I mean, how you ain't no way you can
I think there can be
just shoot you down.
Right. I think there can be some
Your
close
word
calls.
against his, it should be they have to see a weapon before they can shoot.
I agree, sir.
If you're a police, that's a dangerous job. That's why when you take on this, but if you can shoot me down every time you get scared, it's not a dangerous job. You take the danger out of it.
Yeah.
When I can just shoot you because I feel like you might be a threat.
Right. It's definitely. We're gonna have to do a show about that maybe next week. Okay. But thank you for calling in. What do you have anything to say about what we're talking about tonight?
Well, no, I just had my mind on that, but I've been listening, and I'll be watching y'all next week.
Okay, what I'll do is I can rearrange my schedule for next Wednesday, and next Wednesday night we're going to talk about the shootings, okay?
Okay,
I'll do that
listening.
just for you.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
call
Okay,
me back.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. What were you going to say, Danny?
Well, you know, recently they wanted to raise the minimum wage, and I'm going to get to my point. They wanted to raise the minimum wage. Well, the Democrats and Republicans couldn't agree on it. So what President Obama did, used his executive order and said, okay, y'all don't want to raise the minimum wage nationally. What I'm going to do is, if you do business with the United States government, you will pay this wage if you contract with us. And so he, in effectively, raised the minimum wage for anybody that contracts with the government. You will pay your employees this. What happened is a lot of businesses, I think maybe Subway, I can't remember, but what they did, they joined on and said, we're going to do it on our own without a law being passed. So in relationship to ban the box, I believe it's city government say, if you're going to contract with the city, that you won't discriminate against returning citizens that are coming from prison. And when they take the initiative right there, that's how you begin to build from that framework from the city standpoint. If you contract with us, you can't have a box on your application and you can't deny returning citizens.
I agree.
Does that go with it, Danny? I know you were at a meeting recently, just banning the box, or also following that with you can't discriminate?
The framework was just being built. I attended the meeting, and I had a lot of the opportunity to interject my ideas. But one of the things is we understand that this is not something that's going to happen real fast. It's going to have to take a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot of opposition to it initially.
And let me tell you why. I've done that in my organizations. Like I said, it's a lot of opposition because there's so many people that want jobs that are not ex-cons. A lot of people in power don't want to help the ex-cons, but we have to make them understand that if we let ex-cons not have jobs and feed off of us, it hurts us all as a society.
Right.
Absolutely.
It hurts the whole community. It hurts us all. So and the more people working, the more our economy is stimulated. So,
Exactly.
but one of the things ex-cons, and I do agree with my conservative, sometimes mean-spirited brethren who I love, when they say, "Oh, we don't want to help them. Let them find their own jobs because enough other people need jobs." I do believe that sometimes we do have to reap what we sow, in that you're not going to have the best jobs. I mean, you're going to have to start from the bottom up, and if you're worthy, obviously you should get promoted for it. But you are going to have to work your way into a trust situation.
Right.
And that's why when I look at these programs, I would like to see them help with that transition, to learn about trust and responsibility, because the problem with a lot of ex-cons or offenders is that you've really never had huge issues with responsibility, and if you get mad and you have triggers, you act on them. That doesn't work well in a workplace. And so you need some type of arena, a forum in which you can learn to handle things that you don't like.
And that's starting in our state, because we do have faith-based dorms now where they're receiving that sort of training. It's based on a value system and core values, and they're learning what it takes to be a good employee, and they're learning how to talk. They're learning how to go to their parole officer and tell them why they want a job, and be able to communicate with people.
That's important.
All those through Toastmasters. Toastmasters is growing in the prisons and needs to grow even more, because that's where women can learn how to express themselves and take criticism too, which is also an important part of it.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. People in that arena don't know how to take criticism.
Exactly.
If they do, they want to fight about it, and you can't do that in the workplace.
That's right.
You have to learn how to conform to society's norms in ways to handle that, manage your stress or manage situations that you are not fond of.
Well, and we're fortunate in Texas that we do have legislators in Texas, in Austin, that are promoting programs like this, where people can actually learn skills and learn how to promote themselves and how to present themselves in a positive way, and while they're in prison. And when they're coming out, they're certainly going to have a better opportunity of finding a job if they can just express themselves and communicate better.
That's important.
And that's happening right now. And we have actually other states coming to see what's going on in Texas.
That's good.
And it is good.
Yeah, and let me add, I agree with that concept, and we try to push that during our support meetings with the Lazarus Project. in terms of responsibility and accountability and having that. But I would also add that the opportunity is extremely important and making sure that persons are able to get that opportunity. I'm not pushing for entitlement, that they deserve it, but at least giving them a chance,
I agree.
opportunity.
I agree.
Because if you don't, if they work hard and walk the straight and narrow and continue to try and continue to meet resistance and rejection, I mean, the human spirit is so strong. And do we want them to just utterly collapse and revert back to depression, drugs, alcohol, and the cycle continues? Or do we want them to be able to at least have an opportunity to advance and move forward? And I agree, if it's starting from the bottom, working your way up, but I know some guys, for instance, that have been coming to the Lazarus Project for several months. I mean, they've been struggling. I mean, I've seen them have some positivity, focus, attending church regularly, Bible study, involved. Man, Pastor, I'm still trying to get this job, and really pushing and pressing. And what I try to do is to encourage them, man, stay faithful, stay passionate, dedicated, and it's gonna come around. But oftentimes, I have seen persons kind of collapse. They were on the right track and trying to do right, but didn't get the opportunity. And so I'm hoping that we can do something to at least create that opportunity for those that are trying and trying to make those positive steps.
And Dr. Chism, the reason why, let me just add this, the reason why I will also say when they get to that point to volunteer is to, and don't forget to add that to the equation when they're looking for jobs. You know, find something you like and ask someone, can you volunteer? It might be a mom and pop company, it might be a car wash, it might be a paint and body shop, it might be a mechanic shop, it might be any labor field, it could be pouring concrete. Your grandfather might have poured concrete and you always thought that that was kind of weird, but it might be cutting grass. It might be many different things that you see these big crews on and you say, I would like to do that. Don't forget to offer them the opportunity of volunteering.
And we do that through the church, through the Bread of Life, through a lot of different
But
programs.
even to get a job, you know, that's like a slick way of getting a job, you know, because you volunteer for someone for 3 months for free, you're there every day, you don't make a lot of excuses. They might give you a job or recommend a friend for a job. It's just kind of like we do in college, an internship.
Right.
Someone come and work for you for free for a while. What is their reward going to be? You're going to help them find a job. You're going to write them a letter of recommendation. You're going to do something for them so that they understand that you do get something for it.
But oftentimes we're dealing with people that's like in crisis mode.
Right. They need the money
Need something right now. With volunteering, kind of growing up, I can volunteer. I still got support from my family.
Right.
And so I'm not in need of housing or a place to sleep. If I don't get some income, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? These are real issues.
Those are.
And so volunteering, it's a place of privilege to be able to kind of give some time and some extra outside of what you need to meet your basic needs. And so it's a very challenging situation.
Yeah, yours is really challenging with the type of desperate people that you deal with. I'm lucky enough being a criminal defense lawyer to deal with people who would be desperate but for the fact that they have grandmother's house to lay on and Auntie's house. And although it might not be a great house and they might be sneaking and living there because it's Section 8 and they shouldn't be there, they're still making it. But they're still desperate if they had to really get out in the street because they're really not supporting themselves. But you're still desperate if you're hanging around all day and you're not working. So you got to do something. What I try to do is that old wives' tale, and idle mind is a devil's workshop. Do something.
Sure.
Do something,
Do something
I agree.
while you're looking. Somebody might pass by and give you a job. I mean, just do something. Stay busy. Yes, Danny?
Yes, as a peer supporter, and when I deal with my returning citizens, my brothers, one thing I say, a job is not to provide you an avenue for fun and excitement. And a lot of them saying, I need the job so I can have some fun and some excitement. What I try to tell them that a job is so you'll be able to live more responsible. You know, it's so you can deal with your responsibilities. And we have to get away from that lifestyle of the con game.
Yeah,
you know.
I want to work so I can go buy some $300 Jordans.
Right.
That's not why you're working. You're working because you really want to give your child, baby that you've made, or those 3 or 4 babies you made, some milk money
To
and
be
some diaper
responsible,
money. But
right.
usually people are not wanting money for that. I agree with you.
Fun and excitement is not what jobs provide. That's not what the money's for. And some of the guys, the reason they fail so fast when they get jobs, as soon as they get a hold of the money, they try to go after the fun and excitement and forget about, I wanted the job so I could be responsible. And you don't make enough money yet to support fun and excitement
And responsibility.
and responsibility. So you try to avoid the responsibility by staying with somebody, taking shortcuts, and using your con skills to avoid responsibility. But this is the idea and message I'm able to share with guys when they first touch ground and get back in. So you plant that idea, like, don't start off with the wrong thought that you're gonna get a lot of fun and excitement out of life, because that's not what a job is. It's about being responsible.
Let's try to take this call. Caller, thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Please turn the volume of your TV down and talk into your telephone.
Hello.
Hello.
What an important show.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all of you for recognizing the political, it should be political solutions. And appealing to employers, so many of them are Republican. Now, our Republican brothers and sisters lower tax break. Why not offer tax breaks to people that hire people that have been in jail? Also, when America was founded, when settled or whatever by countries like England or Australia, they set prisoners because they were highly motivated. And attack issues maybe nobody wants, like something simple in the start, like potholes.
I agree. The potholes is a good idea. And I think another city council person, Dwight Boykins, is going to be trying to work to get jobs to fix those potholes. That's a part of our fees that are now on our wastewater in the city of Houston. So Rebuild Houston. So I think they are working on programs to where a lot of those jobs are going, since they're labor jobs, labor-intensive jobs, are going to go to the ex-offenders.
I think it's also important that there are ex-offenders that become doctors and lawyers. And I'll hang up. Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Bye.
Let's change the subject a little bit, Betty. Let's talk about the Bambi project that we went to today.
Yes, it was very exciting. I really enjoyed going there. This is a place, it's over on the east side of town, where women who are incarcerated can actually stay with their babies. They go straight from the hospital to the Bambi project, and they raise their children. If they have, I think they had to have less than 2 years left on their sentence, and they can go into this project and actually learn how to become a mom, get their GED, get some college classes if that's what they're wanting to do. But they have lots of classes on how to be a mom. A lot of these women had other children that they've never been a parent to, and they don't really know how to be a parent. So they are learning skills from all sorts of different areas. People are coming in and ministering to them and teaching them, and they are so very blessed to be able to participate in this program. And Vivian and I went today and got to meet them and see what their needs are when they get out and what their desire is for the future. And it just touched my soul to be able to see these women, because I've volunteered at the Carroll Young Prison in Texas City, where women have their babies in Galveston, and after about an hour or so, maybe less than an hour, someone comes and takes the baby. The mom goes back to prison, and she might see the baby on the weekend, or if it goes to CPS, she may never see her baby again. So these women are so very blessed, and it's the only place in Texas where this is happening.
And the thing that was interesting is that we didn't feel like we were in prison.
No, not at all.
This is a prison.
They're wearing regular clothes.
They live in apartments. I mean,
They have daycare.
they have daycare.
Yeah.
They have food. You know, they eat 3 times a day. They did seem to feel blessed, though.
Yes, they did.
I mean, that was
They
what
did.
was good, because a lot of prisoners or people feel entitled. You could tell that they felt blessed to be
Oh,
there.
yes.
And they were
Oh, yes.
definitely poor women, basically.
Yeah,
Basically
very.
poor women from all over the state, you know, because it's a prison. It's not like just Houston people. But you could tell they felt blessed. But we were in there with women and their children, and I made them go one by one to tell them who you are, why you're incarcerated. We're not, you know, I don't play games. Tell me why you're here. What is your prison sentence for? And I wanted to know everybody's triggers. What is your trigger? And I made them tell it. I didn't know if the rest of the group wanted to hear that.
No, I thought it was wonderful.
Because we had 2 women here that are volunteering from Virginia.
They're actually on staff with Prison Fellowship, and this is the only place where this is happening, and Prison Fellowship would like to see this in all the states. And certainly needs to be, well, I mean, the ideal would be for every woman to be able to keep their child. Why should the child be punished because the mom's in prison?
And these kids were well nourished. The
Yes.
parents were well nourished. The children seemed happy. They were noisy, just like children should be, but well behaved.
Yes.
Very well behaved. But I made them talk about what some of the things they didn't want to talk about. I made everybody say their little speech, like we're in AA or something. What I'm here for, what your triggers, where you going when you get out of here, is your man no good? And I mean, I made it. Oh no, I hit it. I hit it fast. They weren't ready for me. I hit it and quit it. What are your triggers and what are you going to do? If they had substance abuse problems, I could tell them quickly, get in a good AA and get a good sponsor that's a single mother like you. And if you have a man to go home to, does he beat you? Is he abusive? Is he a dope addict? And how are we going to deal? Oh, no, I hit it and quit it, baby. I don't know if the rest of them were ready for it. I hit it and
No,
quit
it
it.
was good.
That's pretty
because
powerful.
I think you made one of them really think about her situation when she gets home, because she was going right back into the same situation.
Going right back into the same situation.
How crazy is that?
Was that crazy? You talking about the lady with the little pretty boy that was walking around? Yeah. They were going back into the same, she was going way back into the same situation.
Yes, she was.
And, well, she said she wasn't, but.
She said he'd been drug-free for 3 months. Yeah.
Is that the one that's.
And the husband was much older. Yeah.
But, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, yeah, she was going, and she had 2 other kids
Yes.
with him.
Yes.
I was thinking about the little lady right here that had the little pretty boy that.
Yes.
Big boy. The
Yes.
big pretty boy that's walking
Yes.
around when that husband moved to
Oh,
Colorado.
the one that moved to Colorado for the marijuana.
Yeah, it has a marijuana plant.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got some very interesting stories. And I think at least 5 of them asked me for my cards. They were concerned about their triggers. I told a few of them, make a little diary of what your triggers are. And if you don't have a man, like one of them was just leaving her children. Well, I don't know if she's losing her children, but she's from San Antonio, but she's going to move to Dallas and be in the Exodus program. That sounds like a great program.
That sounds like a wonderful
program.
We need one in Houston.
We need one in
We
Houston
need an
bad.
Exodus program here.
In Houston. We need
Yes,
one
we
badly.
do.
She's going to go to the Exodus program, and I mean, she had her mind straight. I mean, I'm getting away from all the triggers I had.
Yes.
But the only trigger she can have is one we talk about a lot, is because she's going to take her children, 2 older children, the baby that she has there, start over. You're going to want a man. You're going to want a man.
Relationships.
So, a relationship. And I said, that's a trigger, ladies. So I asked her, try for 6 months not to get in one. And then I'm going to help you with your trigger. When you catching the bus, you're getting into your job, because the Exodus program gives them jobs, and it's that other part of life after prison. Tell him no. Tell him no thank you. Tell him I'm not dating right now. Tell him you're married. Tell him whatever you have to do to not give him your telephone number. You need to have a response not to give out your telephone number, because you need to adjust and learn how to take care of you and your children, because it's difficult to be a single mother. I asked all of them to get sponsors that are single mothers.
I thought one of the really good things you did, Vivian, is that you told them to have their response ready.
Right.
Figure out what your response is right now.
Right. Let's talk about that while you're here.
That's
Think
right.
about that.
It's called playing the tape.
Right.
You know?
I think I need to recruit Miss King for our next prison visit.
Yeah, that's pretty
She
good.
did
Well,
some
you told
ministry.
me, you heard me about just me telling my story to the kids the other day.
Yeah,
I already, I feel the pain. So I understand. I've had training. I didn't date for 8 years, raising my daughter from 10 to 18. So, I move around. So people asking me for my number. So I had to learn how to have a response for that. How do you get out of that real
Be
quick?
prepared.
Have it ready.
Be
Think
prepared.
about
'Cause it was a conscious effort on my part, and I could do it. I'd been grown a long time, but I knew what I wanted to do and how I wanted to react, so you have to be ready for it. I'm no different than they are.
Yeah.
other than I know that we have to be ready for our triggers. What are you going to do when you're depressed and you can't find a job and you
Exactly.
want to go? Because what do we do when we have problems? We go self-medicate with drugs.
We call it frustration, conflict, and pressure are the
Right.
three major stressors. And one of the fundamentals in recovery they suggest is that you stay out of a relationship for the first year. You know what I'm saying? They didn't
See,
say
women
don't.
already in relationships a lot of time. That's the problem. They have these little babies, and as soon as they get out, these men are going to be wanting to come around these babies. In fact, we saw a man there. A man, I was shocked when I saw him because we're in prison, and I see a man coming, but the facilitator said he was coming to participate in the counseling with his woman because she's going to parole out to him or be released to him. So he was coming to participate in group therapy, which is good.
Well, that's good. Yes, yes.
But the defining the relationship, it's not that you can't assimilate with the opposite sex, but when you get, a relationship is a commitment that we're together. So we're saying stay away from the commitment part that I'm responsible for you and you're responsible for me. Not that you don't interact with the opposite sex.
Well, the problem is for women. See, that's a man's attitude. But for women, a lot of women, especially drug addicted women, they will acquiesce to men. So even if your man goes and robs a bank, you want to be a ride or die. So you're going to be the getaway driver, even if that's not on your mind. If he asks you to do it, you're going to do it because we're going to still play a subservient role, even if it's in doing criminal activity. And so that's why I want them to either stay away from it or not get into it to when they can become better people and know how when my man asks me to do this, I'm going to say no, or I'm going to not respond at all and just kind of say, I need to go to mama's house and get out of that situation. But you can't just go back living in that situation if your boyfriend is a criminal.
My other
your
half,
husband.
my other half is not driving a getaway car.
I know, because you didn't get one of these kind of women.
Yeah,
You know what I
well-
mean? But you know that women will fall to men. In fact, a lot of those women admitted to us that they got involved with drugs because of their
Oh,
men.
absolutely. And
And so,
at the Carroll Young prison,
See, that's
when
the
you talk
special
to those
need of
women,
women.
it's sad.
That's the special
Yeah.
thing about women. See, men don't get in drugs because of their women. But women get involved with drugs because of their men. So women have an extra layer of triggers or vulnerability.
Sense of loyalty.
Well, we
they
just
want
have
to be
that.
loved.
They want to be
wanna be
loved. See,
loved
like
and
the
cared
men,
for.
as long as you can get a decent job and stay strong, you can have a supportive woman. But men, especially in that life, are not that support. Even in my life, are not that supportive. I mean, men are just not as supportive. They want you to support them. So that's an extra pressure in a woman's life. And that's why a lot of times when even your friends get divorced, it's usually going to be the woman that's causing, you know what I mean? It's an extra pressure because we feel extra pressure in making our men feel like they want to feel like men, even in the drug world. But then we still have to know, but nobody's really making us feel like we need to be made felt. So we have to be strong enough to handle that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of black men have a lot of issues,
Really?
really. And we have to
Not you,
be,
Danny.
and
Not
and we have to be the brunt of that. So that takes actually extra strength to deal with that.
That's history.
I mean, that's just our history. I mean, because we
Right.
have to support our family, whether you get in trouble, go to jail, come around, don't come around, have 5 babies in the same year by 5 different baby mamas. I mean, we still got to deal with that. And so you got to stay strong for that. And a lot of women are weak. And so we want to be loved, like Betty said. And it's extra. It's tough.
Yeah.
We have a phone call. So caller, we appreciate you calling. Please make your comment.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My comment is, if you, I commend you on going there and talk to the ladies. But if you think that these young ladies are going to stay away from a man, that's going against their nature. They need a good man in their life. and when it comes to the drugs,
Yeah, good.
the women are the ones who be introducing men to it, like Eve with Adam. She the one. A lot of them are the ones who are addicted, and they meet a guy, and the guy thinks she's sexy, and then they buy her drugs. So it's not that
Okay.
that the women is getting turned out by these men.
Why
They
did I
need a good
even
man.
say that?
Now, like for instance, one of them brothers up there. So you mean to tell me if one of them sisters walking down the street and a good man come and just pull up on them and got their very best interests at heart and want a good good guy, all clean, and they should just ignore him and say, well, You're a man. No, it just
What-
ain't gonna work.
yeah,
It depends on who the man is, I believe.
You make a
Now, if
blanket
it's a man
statement,
that's
and
gonna
that's
leave him
what
in
he's
trouble,
getting you on.
I
Don't
agree
beat me up.
100%.
Don't beat me up. I agree with you. Don't shoot the messenger. I hear you. I hear your message. And God bless you for your comment. Okay.
All right.
And for being a good man.
And for being a good man.
That's
We
right.
believe that
Have a
you're a
good
good man. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. One of the things I do want to comment, caller and other viewers, is that advice was only given to one of the 20 women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So let me clarify that. It was one woman's experience that she didn't need it for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't tell that to all 20, 25 women. Only one. Okay. Many of them were going back to their men. We couldn't tell them that.
Right.
Right. I mean, they're going back to the situations they left.
Well, and one woman did say that her husband did not use drugs, never
Right.
had used drugs.
She was the only one.
She
who
was
did
the
it.
problem.
She was the
So,
problem.
yes, and
so
so-
one woman, agreed,
Yes.
just like you did, that she was the problem.
And the dad's raising the children while
Yeah.
she's locked up.
Right. He had the
So,
children. So
yeah,
she
so-
was the problem.
So he's exactly right. It's not always the
You're
case.
exactly right. He was the good man.
That's
and
right.
she was the bad guy that got sent to prison behind drugs. So you're right. That wasn't everybody's story. I just told you about one extreme
Right.
story. Yeah, the rest of at least 5 or 6 of them had good men, and they were going back to them. They just did wrong. So
But you know what? The undercurrent of this whole conversation to me is that if they can get programs which help them while they're in prison, rather than the traditional just lock them up because we're mad at them and not do anything, where they come out worse than they were before they came. If they can get some rehabilitative programs while they're in there, and what has proven to work are the Christian-based programs. There are others, but those are the ones I know about that have worked. But if they can get involved in those kind of programs, and unfortunately everyone can't because there aren't enough of them, because we need more involvement of people and volunteers to staff those kind of programs. We have prisoners begging to be in programs like that. They have
And let me just
probably
share this.
10,000.
Let me throw this in, Betty. Didn't you find inspiring that many of the women found God?
Oh,
A
absolutely.
lot of them said they really didn't have a Christian background and they found God. I think one's waiting to be baptized.
Yes.
A few have been baptized while they were there. So it was good as a part of their story. They talked about God.
Yes.
And while we were there, we prayed before we left, but some other faith ladies came in that prayed with them from the outside. So
Yeah.
the faith-based prison that they're in with their babies is really helpful to them.
Absolutely.
And one of the issues, if I can jump in, I mean, as I'm listening, is the restorative justice model versus the punitive or punishment model.
right.
And often the case is with most prisons nationally, and even in this grand old state of Texas especially, we have a punitive model of justice, that this person committed a crime, they need to go to prison and pay for it. They need to suffer for what they did. And the unfortunate thing is that that mentality has to change because it's not fruitful. It doesn't make our community safer. It doesn't reform or change their behavior or way of thinking. It's not fruitful in any way. And so my challenge is especially to those that are Christian and carry this punitive model, is that it's contradictory to the Christian faith and teachings.
And I appreciate that, Pastor Chism. And the reason why is because as I do jury selection in cases, and generally in a felony case, I've had 2 this summer, they bring 65 to 75 people over. And one of the questions that the prosecutors will ask is, what do you believe in, rehabilitation or punishment? So they'll know to only pick the ones that want punishment, not rehabilitation. But I'm learning over the last few years that more and more people want rehabilitation, even the conservative Republicans. I think people are starting to understand that we just can't not keep spending money on and locking people up.
Right, it's not
Just like
working.
my show last week was about trace cases of cocaine and how even conservative jurors are finding people not guilty about trace cases of cocaine because it's just trash. It's no big deal. We've talked about that. It's not even a usable quantity. So that means that's another law that should be changed. On marijuana laws, it has to be a usable quantity. So if they found my car right now with marijuana seeds and stems, you can't smoke that. That's just the leftover of it. You can't charge someone for that. But if you see, if a cop can see this piece of paper and they can wipe off with a little test pack that it was cocaine right there, they can charge me
Right,
with
residue.
a felony of residue cocaine. It's not enough to snort or inhale or use to get high at all. So a lot of times people keep the little containers that they had it in, or what they might smoke it with. If they get some more cocaine, homeless guys will pick up stuff off the ground and put it in their backpack. They might be gonna give it to somebody. That's trace cocaine, and we are wasting people in jail for a year, 2 years behind it. Well, I had a lawyer on last Wednesday that had tried 2 of those cases this year and got not guilty both times. Because jurors are just, and she, we talked to them afterwards, the 12 that are there that decide, and people don't care about that anymore.
And look how much money was wasted on
That's
that.
what one person was
So
offended
much
by.
money was
That's what
wasted.
one person was offended by. What the economics?
Yeah.
She said in jury selection it was 60 people there. One guy said, "I'm sitting here offended not because I can follow the law. If you put me on and I got to find somebody guilty or not guilty, whatever, I can do that. But I'm offended by trace case amount of cocaine that we're fixing to try, and we have." All the judge, prosecutors, 65 of us sitting in here wasting our time on this. I'm offended about the cost that this is going to have.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth anything.
Absolutely.
It's like a Coke can that you throw away that just has, you might can get a little Coke out of it, but
residue of
nobody
Coke.
would ever drink it. I mean, it's not even quantity.
Right.
I mean, how stupid is that?
Right,
And
right.
there is a whole state jail court just dedicated to us paying retired judges to try these cases because there's so many of them. So when cops need to round people up, they round up all these homeless people or people that had that trash in their pocketbooks or in their backpacks and all that.
Quotas.
And the jurors, because they don't want to convict them, they'll find another reason not to convict them, even though it was in their possession, because it's just stupid. And most of the time, the people have been in jail almost a year waiting for the trial.
Oh, wow.
Because these are poor people that get these cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do, Vivian, with your help is we're trying to meet judges, lawyers, prosecutors to sit at a table and at least have the dialogue and a conversation.
And let me tell you what is more important, though, and this is what I'm trying to educate our jurors. It's the legislators. It's not those people. Those people have to follow the law.
Right.
Remember the 3 branches of government. We need to get the lawmakers. Once
Right.
you're a judge, you have to follow the law.
And we have friendly legislators to restorative justice.
See,
Right, now
there's
we
3
need to-
branches. The legislative branch, which is what I'm asking my viewers to put on the fire. Don't just ask your legislators the same old stupid questions. Talk to them about these issues that I'm bringing up, trace case cocaine. Because the judges and the lawyers and everybody in the judiciary branch of government have to follow it. And then the prison system is the executory branch of government. They have to execute the sentences. So these 2 branches are stuck. There's 3 branches of government. Judiciary, which is where I work, we're stuck. The executive branch, we're stuck. Except that when we do great programs, rehabilitative like Bambi. But it's the legislators that can decide that's not a crime. Because remember, marijuana in the 70s was a felony. So now I'm telling you, it's going from a felony offense all the way down to it has to be something you can smoke. It has to be a usable quantity. So why wouldn't cocaine be the same thing?
Or it's illegal in several states now.
Right.
Well, and it's not, it's
marijuana,
not Washington.
marijuana.
That's what she was saying. You
It's
said a
Austin where
felony.
we need to work. It's
Right.
Austin
So it's
where
Austin.
we need to work.
We need to tell them stop prosecuting trash.
And even at the federal level. I have an interesting story just to share. Recently, the United Methodist Church is backing legislation for the Fair Sentencing Act, which is dealing with a lot of these issues as it relates to drug policies and discrepancies in sentencing. And so they sent out a message via email encouraging different pastors and leaders to write letters to their congressmen, encouraging them to support this Fair Sentencing Act. And I wrote the letter. I said, I'm going to go ahead and do it, busy. And so, but I went ahead and drafted the letter. And I don't know, maybe because I put Dr. Chism, I got a response.
Yeah.
He actually emailed me back with a response. And so I was astonished by that. And his response was basically that I hear what you're saying. I mean, I understand the debate that takes place as it relates to this act. But my position is, and the position of a lot of lawmakers, is to keep communities safe. And so we feel that we need to violate and prosecute persons that are jeopardizing the safety of communities.
But that's
so
a cop-out to me.
that was his point.
That was his, and but that's an old rhetoric because we've been locking people up since they said tough on crime and the drug wars.
Right.
So it's the same old rhetoric, but the thing that we have to start doing is $1 and cents. If we knew how much it costs to incarcerate each person for each crime, we could make the punishment fit the cost-benefit analysis of it.
Right.
Because 50% of it doesn't fit the cost benefit analysis. If citizens really had that information before them, they would say, no, I don't think this should be a crime. And I think if the legislators really cared about our safety, they would do cost benefit analysis on the crimes that we punish to see, are we really getting our money's worth? Is this really these trace cases are not keeping our community safe.
No.
They arrest the people, they don't even have weapons on them. Weapons is what
We're fighting a war against drugs that has been going on for decades now, that we have failed tremendously. And part of it, I think, goes to this punitive model of justice and not a restorative, rehabilitative model. And the challenge is to translate this information to our legislators. If we can't translate it to them, perhaps we need to take it to the polls and get some new legislators.
We need to take it
in
to
office.
the people. We need to figure out a way through the universities. We have so many here where we can do some cost benefit analysis, so we can put that in our literature, so we can put that in our voting polls, so we can put that with our legislators. So break it down. And I think that would be a great project for one of these political science classes, or what's that program at TSU that Boney does? I know there's public policy, the Barbara Jordan School, and Mickey Leland School of Public Policy. I think it would be great idea to put the money behind. How much does it cost for these kind of crimes? I'm telling you, if you found out how much it was for the crimes that don't matter, trace cocaine, and these people get arrested with no weapon. So they're not robbing people. They're not breaking into people's houses. So what is the safety issue in that? You know, let us decide if we want to pay for that.
Sure.
Right.
As people.
One of the messages that came out of the conference was, it said, how do we defeat our enemies by making them our friends? And so what they're saying is that if we deem that the legislators are the enemies in this mass incarceration, that we should befriend them, you know, build relationships with them. And it's the same thing you guys are saying, but we have to, like Dr. Chism, take initiatives that are more than talking. He took the initiative and he wrote them, and I would like to follow behind him on doing something like that. But going to that city council meeting, you know, and actually sitting in City Hall. Imagine I'm inside City Hall. I'm sitting at the table. They're talking about banning the box, and I'm a part of it. And here's a councilman right here in front of me. I didn't think that was possible. But what I can do is, when I go back to the Lazarus Project on Mondays, and the guy's returning back from prison, and you try to get him on board, he could be sitting next to me on the next meeting and be involved in changing, you know, the prison system. And that's what's exciting about what we do at the Lazarus Project, the Path to Freedom, when these guys are coming out. We try to, at least me, like I said, I'm a peer supporter. I'm doing it. He's Dr. Chism. He ain't never had, he never stole a piece of candy from the store. You know what I'm saying? But you take me, I'm involved. Join the fight. Grab your weapon and follow me.
Right.
I'm following him, he's following God.
Amen. And that's a wrap. We've gotten the notice to wrap up. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. And hopefully before the end of the year, I can get them to come on and give us another update so that you can join the discussion, join the community, volunteer, and help us make a great cost-benefit analysis to our prison and have more rehabilitative programs. Because I'm telling you, the one with the women today that we saw, Bambi, it's working. I'm proud of them. I want to figure out how to give a shower for them like they do.
Absolutely.
We can give them. We can bring baby clothes there and volunteer and
diapers. They all need diapers.
Oh, we were excited about it, and they're in prison. So thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good. Our hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate.